Now to a little business. South Africa's Minister of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development, Thoko Didiza, has raised concern over Botswana's extension on import restrictions. Didiza says her office is seeking an urgent meeting with her counterpart in Botswana in hopes that the impasse will be resolved through negotiations. Botswana said it will extend and expand restrictions on imports of some fresh produce as it tries to become self-sufficient in food and to cut its import bill. Now, the ban on imports of tomatoes, potatoes, onions and other produce, which has angered farmers in South Africa and was due to expire at the end of December, will now run until the end of 2025. Now, to help us understand this better, Thoko Didiza, South Africa's Minister of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development, joins us on the news. Thank you so much, Thoko, for joining us.
Thank you very much, and good evening to you and your listeners.
Good evening to you too, and it's a pleasure. Now, Thoko, can you provide an overview of the decision to extend the import of fresh produce from South Africa to Botswana? Did Botswana mention the specific reasons behind this extension?
Well, Botswana unfortunately did not indicate to us the specific reason as to why they are extending the restriction which they had put some years ago. And even in the beginning, there was never an indication from Botswana as our neighbor to say this is the policy position that they are taking in order to improve their self-sufficiency on horticulture. However, we did understand in the first engagement with Botswana a year ago as to the reasons and the rationale why they are doing what they are doing. Our concern has always been, while there is a need for each of the countries to provide food self-sufficiency on other commodities in terms of agriculture, it's important not to destroy trade relations on agriculture with your neighbors in particular.
Right. And even though they did not mention the reasons per se, were there any challenges leading up to this moment or limitations that could have led to this decision?
As far as we're aware, there is no such. For me, it's purely an internal decision by the Botswana government that they've taken to do such an extension.
And how do you foresee this extension impacting the local agricultural sector in the country, that's South Africa now? Do you think it will have a positive or a negative effect on the farmers, especially?
Well, from the South African farmers, it will have a negative impact, obviously, because while everybody was waiting that these restrictions would be lifted at the end of December, I would assume that between the importers in Botswana and exporters in South Africa, there might have been orders that have been made. And if such a decision comes at the point at which it has been announced, which is 4th of December, obviously there have to be a redirection of those goods from the South African exporters given the new decision by Botswana. And obviously the importers will have to look at where else they're going to source the products that they might have, ordered from South Africa.
Now, Thoko, since this new development came to light, have there been any consultations or discussions whatsoever with Botswana regarding their decision? And if there has been, what were the concerns or suggestions, or what was the agreement?
Let me indicate that Botswana and South Africa are part of the Southern African Customs Union. When we had our summit in June in Swaziland, we did express our concern about these restrictions that have been imposed, particularly on agricultural goods. Botswana did indicate that one of the policy areas that they want to address is to actually ensure that they improve their self-sufficiency as a country on these commodities. And therefore, part of this instrument is to protect the local producers to be able to produce without necessary competition that would have obviously come from South African producers. And even in that instance, we did indicate that while we appreciate the food security concerns, the fact that Botswana is the least developed country in terms of the WTO systems, where there are certain exemptions for such countries to be able to produce for food security purposes. It is important that such policy measure does not have trade distorting effects to the trading partners.
And what potential risks or challenges might arise for local farmers? Like you did say that it will have a negative impact. What challenges might arise for these farmers in South Africa due to the increased competition from the imports?
Obviously, is the loss of market access into the Botswana market, which South African farmers have had for some years. It would mean working with our agricultural industry to look at other markets where they can actually take their horticultural position. But it would also be important to look at what are the long-term opportunities between agriculture in Botswana and in South Africa, where South Africa had moved into tertiary agriculture in terms of agro-processing. So these are the issues that in our consultations and engagement, which we are seeking with Botswana, we would like to address, because in our view, while this must be a short-term measure, obviously, Botswana's producers will be looking for export opportunities in the future, because if such products are not going to be consumed in Botswana, you do need to look for the market access elsewhere. And one of those market access opportunities lie in South Africa. So it is therefore important for us to look at a broader, agricultural value chain strategy, rather than being, looking at each and every one of us, but also looking at the Africa Continental Free Trade Area and how we take advantage of that as a region as well as individual countries.
Right. South Africa's Minister of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development, Thoko Didiza. Thank you so much for joining us on the news and sharing a better perspective to the matter at hand. Thank you.
Thank you very much.